What if the greatest power you possess isn't in controlling your life, but in completely surrendering it? There comes a moment, subtle and sacred, when the noise of striving grows so loud that it collapses into silence. And in that silence, a deeper voice begins to rise, not with urgency, not with command, but with a gentle certainty that seems to know your name before you were named. It is the whisper of the divine, and it has been waiting for you. You do not have to find this voice. You do not have to earn its blessing or perfect yourself into its favor. You need only ask, and then you must let go. Ask the divine not as a plea to a distant deity, but as a returning to your own infinite source. Ask not from the ego which calculates and schemes, but from the soul which already understands. When you ask from this place, from the stillness, from the surrender, your very question becomes a prayer, and your willingness to release becomes the doorway to miracles. But the mind will resist. It will whisper, plan, control, strive. It will tell you that the divine must be micromanaged, must be instructed on how and when and why to deliver. The ego does not trust the unseen. It is terrified by surrender. And yet surrender is the only real power you have. To ask the divine and then to let go is to say, I trust the intelligence that spins galaxies to also spin my life with perfect rhythm. It is to understand that the same breath that moves through the trees moves through you. And it needs no direction from your fear. It only needs your openness. We have been taught that control is strength, that faith is weakness, that surrender is for those who have no other options. But I tell you now, surrender is the fiercest kind of faith. It is the boldest declaration of trust. It is the quiet revolution that turns striving into grace. When you ask with your whole being, not from desperation, but from alignment. Not because you are lacking, but because you are remembering your connection to something vaster than form. Speak to the divine, not as an outsider knocking on a door, but as the light within the lamp, igniting your own inner flame. And once you have asked, let go. Release your grip on the how, the when, the outcome. Do not dig up the seed to check if it is growing. Water it with trust. Expose it to the sunlight of surrender. Then walk away knowing that what is meant for you cannot miss you. And what misses you was never yours. This is the sacred paradox. To receive, you must release. To manifest, you must surrender. To create space for the miraculous, you must stop trying to architect every detail of your destiny. You must become available to the unknown. Letting go is not abandonment. It is not indifference. It is not giving up. It is the most profound act of participation. It is participation without resistance. It is saying, I will show up, I will take aligned action, but I will not carry the weight of what I cannot control. I will let the divine decide the form. I will let life have its way with me. The ancient wisdom reminds us that when nothing is done, nothing is left undone. This is not about passivity. It is about alignment. It is about allowing the river to carry you rather than exhausting yourself by swimming upstream. It is about becoming the reed, not the dam, the hollow flute, not the forced melody. You are not here to choreograph every movement of your life. You are here to dance with the mystery. And mystery, the sacred unknown, only enters when the door of certainty is closed. When you relinquish the need to know, to prove, to force, you create a sanctuary for grace to enter. You step out of the illusion of control and into the power of co-creation. The ego will protest. It thrives on control, on certainty, on checklist spirituality. But the soul moves like the wind, unseen, unpredictable, free. The soul does not demand answers. It only asks that you stay open, that you stay willing, that you trust the silence between the words. Ask the divine, then let go. Let go of the timeline. Let go of the outcome. Let go of the idea that you know better than the infinite intelligence that formed you from stardust and breath. Let go of the belief that your worth is dependent on what happens next. You are not being tested. You are being guided. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are not being ignored. You are being realigned, but you can only hear this if you are quiet. You can only feel this if you are willing to stop clutching at certainty like a drowning man clutches driftwood. You must release to rise. Even the greatest teachers did not demand. They asked and then surrendered. Not my will, but thine. Not as an act of submission, but as an act of union. To let go is to remember that you are not separate from the divine. You are not a beggar at the gates of heaven. You are the presence of heaven awakening within itself. You don't need to convince the divine to bless you. You only need to become a vessel for the blessing. And you do that through trust, through presence, through surrender. Ask the divine, yes. Ask boldly. Ask with joy. Ask with tears in your eyes if you must. But then release. Release the anxiety. Release the clenching. Release the narrative that says, if I don't control this, everything will fall apart. Everything will fall into place the moment you stop trying to force it. What is for you will unfold in ways more perfect than you could ever plan. What is meant to be yours will arrive not through grasping, but through grace. Not by proving your worth, but by remembering it. Trust is not a concept. It is a practice. It is a moment-to-moment choice to open your hands when fear tells you to close them. It is a breath taken, not in panic, but in presence. And in that breath, in that quiet surrender, the divine answers, not always with what you expect, but always with what you need. Always with what your soul has secretly been longing for, even if your mind has not yet understood it. There is a great stillness beneath all the movement. There is a great wisdom beneath all the questions. And there is a great love waiting patiently behind every fear. So ask. Ask the divine. Speak your heart. Then let go. Let go as if the answer is already on its way, because it is. And let that knowing be enough. Letting go is not an act of abandonment. It is an act of sacred intimacy with life. It is to say to the universe, I trust you more than I trust my fears. It is to acknowledge that your limited mind cannot orchestrate what eternity already holds in its hands. So many walk through this life with clenched fists, gripping plans, expectations, identities as if their very survival depends on the weight they carry. But the soul was never made to carry. It was made to flow. To let go is to unclench the fists, to open the palms, and to allow the current of divine timing to guide your days. You will not find freedom in control. You will not find peace in prediction. The peace you seek lives in your willingness to allow things to rise and fall, to allow people to come and go, to allow the mystery to move through you, not around you. And yes, allowing often means feeling the grief of detachment, feeling the ache of uncertainty. But beneath the ache is clarity, beneath the surrender is serenity, and beneath the emptiness, something sacred is always born. Every time you let go, you are saying to life, I am ready for truth. Not the truth the world sells you, but the truth your soul has always whispered. And the truth is everything that is real will remain. Everything that is meant for you will find you. And everything that leaves was never the source of your peace to begin with. The ego mourns what is lost. The soul rejoices for what is revealed. Letting go is not a one-time act. It is a way of being, a continuous releasing, a rhythm of trust. Each morning is a new opportunity to ask and surrender. Each moment invites a deeper bow, a deeper breath. And in this breath, you will find the guidance you thought you needed to chase. It does not come with noise or fanfare. It comes in silence. In the space between thoughts, in the pause between trying and trusting. You are not here to hold it all together. You are here to be held by something larger. You are not here to impress the world with your plans. You are here to embody the sacred humility of one who knows they are being led. And the path you are on, no matter how uncertain, no matter how wending, is not a mistake. It is the exact unfolding your soul requires to awaken from the illusion of control and fall into the embrace of surrender. Ask the divine. Then trust so deeply that you stop checking your watch. Trust so fully that your breath slows and your heart softens. Trust so completely That even when the answer takes a different shape than you imagined, you know somewhere deep within that it is still the answer, because your soul does not crave outcomes. It craves alignment, it craves presence, it craves the sacred yes that rises not from the world but from within. Do not confuse letting go with apathy. It is not indifference. It is the purest form of engagement. To act without attachment, to give without demand, to move with love without needing the world to echo it back. That is the dance of the awakened. That is the surrender of the sage. It is not weakness. It is power in its highest form. The kind of power that does not shout but transforms. The divine is not far from you. It is not waiting in the distance behind your next achievement or beneath your next transformation. It is here, closer than your breath, quieter than your fears. And it speaks most clearly when you stop trying to script your life and simply listen. It does not speak the language of force. It speaks the language of flow. And you, beloved soul, are made of that same flow. You are not a mistake. You are not forgotten. You are not being punished. You are being polished, returned, refined by the fire of surrender. And though the fire may feel hot, it does not destroy. It reveals. Every sacred text, every enlightened master, every ancient teaching has pointed to this truth. The more you cling, the more you suffer. The more you release, the more you rise. And so the practice is not to become stronger in the ways of the world, but softer in the ways of the soul. Softer, not weaker. Softer because softness is what allows the divine to move through you unimpeded. It is what allows miracles to land where your resistance once stood. The miracle is not in the outcome. It is in the space you create when you let go. The space for something greater, something unseen, something wholly aligned with the real you, the you that was never broken, never separate, never needing to be fixed. And this space, this holy spaciousness becomes a temple, a place where grace can land, a place where peace can dwell, a place where you can finally rest. Not because everything is certain, but because you no longer require certainty to rest. You are not asked to understand the plan. You are asked to trust the planner. You are not asked to know the future. You are asked to be fully present to this moment where the divine already lives. And in this moment, there is nothing lacking. In this breath, there is nothing to chase. In this stillness, there is only truth. So let go and let life do what it came to do through you. Let the divine lead, and you, beloved, follow without fear, without resistance, without needing the map, because the path is not outside you. The path is you. And every step you take in trust reveals more of it. When you stop asking life to bend to your will and begin to bend yourself to the rhythm of life, a profound peace emerges. Not the peace of predictability, but the peace of participation in something infinite. You begin to sense that your part is not to push the river, but to trust its current. You begin to feel that your role is not to steer the stars, but to let their light illuminate the path beneath your feet, one humble step at a time. This is where your freedom lies, not in certainty, not in achievement, but in communion with the unfolding. A communion that does not need to be explained or justified. A knowing that hums beneath the surface of thought, guiding you not with instructions, but with quiet invitations. It may come as a whisper in the early morning, or a gentle tug in the center of your chest. Follow it. Honor it, for it is not your mind's agenda. It is your soul's remembering. There is a deeper intelligence at work in your life, one that does not rush, does not panic, and never withholds. But it does require space. Space between your thoughts, space between your plans, space between the noise of wanting and the silence of receiving. In that space, miracles move. In that space, the answer arises, not because you grasp it, but because you created room for it to arrive. To live surrendered is not to live small. It is to live vast, uncontained by the rigid edges of control. It is to wake each morning, not asking what must I fix, but rather what am I ready to allow. It is to greet the unknown not as a threat, but as a doorway into deeper truth. And each time you walk through that doorway, the identity you once clung to dissolves a little more, revealing not less of you, but more of your essence. You are not here to become. You are here to remember, not the memory of your name or your history, or the roles you've played, but the remembrance of your divine origin, the quiet clarity that you did not come into this world as a problem to be solved, but as a presence to be expressed. And that expression cannot be forced. It must be invited. It must be given the space to rise like the dawn, unhurried, inevitable and full of light. When you trust the divine, you begin to hear the world differently. The sound of rain becomes a language. The touch of wind feels like a message. The pause between heartbeats holds revelations that no book could ever contain. You start to sense the sacred not as something above you, but as something within you moving outward in waves of kindness, stillness, and grace. There is no map for this path because you are the map. There are no landmarks because your soul does not travel linearly. It spirals, it dances, it breathes. And each moment of letting go is not a detour. It is the very movement of awakening. You do not awaken by climbing ladders or mastering techniques. You awaken by becoming so deeply present that the illusion of separation falls away like old skin. What remains is presence. Not the presence of performance, but the presence of truth. And that truth, when lived without fear, becomes your offering to the world. Not a performance to impress, but a light to bless. You will not need to declare it. You will not need to defend it. You will simply live it. And those who are ready will feel it in your silence, in your softness, in the way you listen, and in the way you love, without needing anything in return. To ask the divine, and then let go is the greatest act of courage, because it asks you to live without armor. It asks you to stand open in a world that often misunderstands stillness. But stillness is not weakness. It is strength without aggression. It is clarity without noise. It is love without condition. And in this stillness, you will begin to see not just the path before you, but the sacredness of each step. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not missing anything. You are simply being shaped by a rhythm older than time. Let yourself be shaped. Let yourself be softened. Let yourself be emptied so that you may be filled not with plans, not with answers, but with the presence that has always been waiting for you to return. And return you shall, not to a destination, but to yourself. There is a softness that begins to take root in you when you stop grasping at the future and begin resting in the grace of what is. This softness is not passivity, it is receptivity. It is the open field after the storm, not because the storm did not come, but because the earth remembered how to drink the rain. When you ask the divine and release your grip, you become like that field, ready to be nourished by whatever life pours in, even if the skies arrive heavy with clouds. We spend so many years believing that clarity must be chased, that purpose must be earned, that fulfillment is hidden behind the next mountain. But when you finally pause, truly pause, you discover that what you have been searching for never moved. It was always here, beneath the noise, beneath the striving, beneath the armor you wore to protect yourself from a world that kept whispering you are not enough. But the divine never whispered that. The divine only sings one song, and it is always love. To let go is to return to that song, to drop the illusion that your worth depends on outcome, to stop bargaining with your own soul. There is no transaction in true spirituality. There is no trade. You do not need to become anything more to be worthy of guidance. You were woven from guidance. You were created from the very fabric of divine wisdom. Your breath is not separate from that which gives life to galaxies. And so when you ask, do not beg, do not shrink, do not lower your eyes in shame. Ask from the center of your being. Ask as the ocean asks the moon to pull her tides. Ask as the stars ask the darkness to hold their glow. And then like the tides, like the stars, surrender to your own rhythm. Let go of what you think should happen. Let go of how long it should take. Let go of who you must be to be loved. You are already loved. You are already held. You are already enough. There is a doorway inside you that can only be opened by silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of presence. The silence that comes when you are no longer trying to be impressive, no longer trying to outthink your pain, no longer trying to outrun your past. In that silence, the divine speaks, not in words, but in feeling, not in commands, but in invitation. You will know this voice by how it makes you feel, like you've come home, even if everything around you still looks the same. The world will keep shouting, the ego will keep strategizing, but the soul waits in stillness. It does not interrupt, it does not compete. It simply stands like a lighthouse on the edge of your being, waiting for the fog to lift. And when you finally stop searching the horizon for signs, you turn inward, and there it is, that light, that calm, that knowing. It was never gone. You just forgot how to see in the dark. There is a holy unraveling that begins when you choose trust over tension. When you stop asking, what if everything falls apart, and start wondering, what if everything is falling together? The unraveling is not your end. It is your becoming. The shedding of false selves, the loosening of what was never really yours. And yes, it feels like loss. It feels like breaking. But you are not breaking. You are being opened. You are being carved out to make room for something vast, something eternal, something sacred. Letting go is not the same as giving up. It is the brave act of turning the page when the story no longer speaks truth. It is not weakness to release what no longer resonates. It is wisdom. It is strength. It is the deep bow of the soul to its own becoming. And each time you let go, you make space for something real to rise. Not a replacement, not a fix, but a remembering of what has always lived beneath the layers. The divine does not operate on deadlines. The soul does not hurry. And so your task is not to speed up, but to slow down, to feel the texture of now, to taste the moment before it passes, to breathe as though each breath is a conversation with the divine, because it is. Because life is not a task to complete. It is a mystery to be met with wonder. Do not wait for the conditions to be perfect. The perfect moment is always now. The perfect state is always presence. The perfect path is always the one beneath your feet. Ask the divine not to rescue, but to remind you. Not to fix you, but to reveal you. Not to change the world around you, but to change the way you see it. And then let go. Let go of needing to know. Let go of needing to be right. Let go of the story that says your pain has no purpose. It does. It brought you here to this breath, to this prayer, to this remembrance. You are not here to figure it all out. You are here to feel it all fully. You are here to love, not as a strategy, but as your natural state. You are here to trust, not as a last resort, but as your first language. And you are here to let go, not as an act of abandonment, but as an act of devotion. Because what the divine can do with your surrender, you could never do with your control. There is a moment, sometimes disguised as heartbreak, sometimes cloaked in the ordinariness of an afternoon, when something ancient stirs in you. Not a desire for more, but a longing for less noise, less proving, less attachment to things that cannot hold your wholeness. This longing is not lack. It is the voice of the divine reminding you that your essence was never meant to be buried beneath layers of striving. You are not a machine built to perform. You are a soul luminous and vast, here to be experienced, not explained. The truth is, most of what you think you need to hold on to is already trying to leave. Not because you are being punished, but because you are being freed. Life is not trying to hurt you. It is trying to return you. And when it takes things from your grasp, it is only because your arms are too full to receive what you truly ask for. Letting go is the clearing of sacred ground. It is the sweeping of the temple floor so the altar of your being can be seen again. And yes, it can be terrifying because ego clings to familiarity. Even when the familiar is painful, it gives the illusion of control. But the soul craves expansion, and expansion requires space. And space cannot enter a life crowded with certainty. The divine does not call the brave because they are fearless. It calls them because they are willing to feel their fear and keep going. And that is what letting go is. Not the absence of fear, but the presence of something greater. A quiet yes to life's deeper rhythm. A surrender not to defeat but to design. You are not surrendering because you've lost your power. You are surrendering because you finally found it. Imagine a tree refusing to release its autumn leaves, clutching every brittle remnant of what once was. What would happen? It would not survive the winter. It would not make room for new growth. It would become imprisoned by what is already dead. And yet, how often do we do the same? We cling to old identities, expired dreams, relationships we've outgrown, beliefs that were never truly ours, and we wonder why we feel so heavy. To ask the divine is to acknowledge your sacred place in the order of things, but to let go is to embody that truth. It is to say, I will not carry what no longer resonates with my soul's unfolding. I will not trade my peace for the illusion of control. I will not silence my intuition for the approval of a world that does not know the depth of my calling. There is a timing more ancient than your plans, a wisdom more intelligent than your logic, and when you stop interrupting it with your urgency, you begin to witness how perfectly life has always been orchestrating your return. Even the detours were part of the path. Even the wrong turns were sacred. The pain, the pause, the pathless nights, they were all holy hands molding your soul into a chalice spacious enough to hold divinity. And so the question is not how can I make this happen? The question is how can I become available to what is already trying to happen through me? The answer does not come in words. It comes in presence, in stillness, in the quiet decision to no longer force life to fit into your mind's idea of how it should unfold. You do not need to manifest a better version of reality. You need to become a clearer vessel for what is already here. Letting go does not mean you stop dreaming. It means you stop chasing. It means you stop needing your dreams to arrive on your terms and begin trusting that their fulfillment might look different, feel deeper, and arrive with more grace than you ever imagined. It means you walk toward your desires with open hands and a surrendered heart, knowing that anything born from force will never satisfy the soul. You are not here to conquer the world. You are here to love it back into harmony, starting with yourself. You are not here to predict every twist of the journey. You are here to walk it with reverence. Each step a bow, each breath a prayer, each release a blessing. And when you do this, when you truly let go, you become the field where grace lands. Not the grace of reward, but the grace of remembrance. The sacred recognition that everything you need has already been woven into your being. The peace, the joy, the wisdom. It is not something to achieve. It is something to uncover. The more you release what you are not, the more your true self rises. Not as a performance, but as a presence. And that presence heals. Not because it tries, but because it is. It shines without seeking. It breathes without needing to impress. It lives without permission. It loves without boundaries. This is the miracle that follows surrender. You stop trying to be the light, and you remember that you already are.